One from Fairfax, Ms. Fillicorn.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a request and a point of personal privilege.
Gentlewoman has the floor.
I move, sir, that that Senate Bill 1025 on page 7 move from the uncontested to the regular calendar, please, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, page 7 of the calendar, Senate Bill 1025, move to the regular calendar.
Gentlewoman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, yesterday in this body, we had 2 more votes in the process coming to an agreement with regard to the transportation plan. I supported the Senate amendments to the plan because it did not include money from the general fund. When that failed, I then voted against the House plan because it included $150 million from the general fund, money that should be used for our kids and our school. While I wear many different hats and always have, the most important to me has always been and will remain as a mom. As you can see from looking around here, there's not many of us moms here in the House of Delegates with school-age kids. I think that being a mom provides me with a unique perspective on many different issues, especially this one that we're discussing. On Monday, you might recall we adjourned early. It was Valentine's Day, and I got in the car and headed home for a few hours in the evening with my family. I was happy to be home and back in the 41st District, running errands in my familiar area, driving around with my kids to their activities Monday evening. Being a typical weekday evening in Northern Virginia, there was, of course, a fair amount of traffic. Not as much as you might see on 395 at 5:30, but there was still the typical congestion that we're so used to. Moms in Northern Virginia know about traffic, and we truly know that we need some improvements. Having said that, the number one issue in my district, and many of yours, certainly in the 41st, as I've heard so often since being elected last year, is education. Later that night, and many times that week, I thought about the debate that we're having on transportation. It's easy and clear to see the need for transportation funding, especially in Nova. However, as a mom, the choice is clear. Not if the potential exists for taking money away from education, money from the general fund. Especially in light of the recent cuts to education funding, cuts that are so evident and clear to us as parents, as moms, as dads, and to the kids. Prior to making that vote again yesterday, I reviewed constituent emails, phone calls, letters, comments during my town hall meetings, discussions during my many office hours, and hundreds of responses from the surveys that I received. You know what I found? Despite the concern over transportation and the obvious need to those in the 41st District to improve the situation, it was clear they communicated not at the expense of our education. Yesterday, one of my colleagues actually made reference to the governor's bipartisan trip to New York to visit with the bond firms about the transportation plans. It's important to note that the 2 representatives from our side of the aisle were senators. And you know what? The Senate came up with a proposal that did not take money away from education, nor the general fund for transportation. That's why yesterday I voted in favor of the Senate Transportation Amendment, and at this stage voted against the House Transportation Bill, which still included funds from the general fund. My hope when I was elected was when I began this session being my first full session, actually, in Richmond, was to work in a bipartisan fashion, working with you all towards a common goal, not focused on who's a D and who's an R, rather what is in the best interest of our constituents and the Commonwealth of Virginia as a whole. I'm an optimistic person, and I very much enjoy working with you all, and I'm confident we're going to move forward in this direction. My sincere hope is that as we move forward towards the next step in this process, and as we work towards negotiation, we can vote on a final transportation plan that is not paid with $150 million from the general fund, funds that are crucial and essential for our kids, teachers, and our schools. Thank you.